Hello. Today we're going to talk about NuiTech Snowflake's website, Snowflake.Live, and how you can use it to make digital learning more interactive for your students. Now, the Snowflake website does work in conjunction with the Snowflake application that is on your ClearTouch panel. So you can use both of them to create, build, and collaborate with other teachers to build your interactive lessons. So the first thing you need to do is go to Snowflake.Live. Now, once you're there, as long as you're a Stokes County Schools employee, you should be able just to go to the sign in up at the top and click sign in with Google and use that single sign on. Now, once you are signed in, the first page that it's going to pull up is your lesson activities. Now, if this is the first time that you've ever logged in to the Snowflake website, you are probably going to have absolutely nothing here. And that's okay because you're going to build a lot there and it's going to be pretty full by the time you start using this website with your students. But for me, I've kind of got a little bit of just kind of a random conglomeration of things. I am going to go across the top of this bar and kind of show you what each thing does. But I'm going to bounce around a little bit just so it makes more sense, if that makes sense at all, bouncing around to make more sense, um, and help you really get started in building these lessons and organizing your content. The first thing I'm going to start with is class over here. So I'm going to go ahead and click. And I really just use my account as a just kind of like a test account for PD and training. So you'll see that mine says like test or training, things like that. So yours is going to look a little different than mine does as you begin using it. So under class, if you click on manage students, this is where you're going to import your students either from Scratch, you can get a CSV list, or you can import them from Google Classroom. You can then review the progress as you begin assigning lessons and building in the kind of the expectations of what you want your lessons to do. There will be a separate video on how to set the expectations for the lessons and the activities that your students do and how to give them great feedback in a variety of different ways. So look out for that video. But here is where you'll be able to do all of that and set up your different settings. Under Chorus, this is what used to be called Canvas, and it is very similarly structured to Canvas that you might have seen or used before on the Android side of the ClearTouch panel. Now you can start from complete scratch, or you can use one that you've started before, maybe that you uh, create, you then structure it, get it looking the way that you want, and then you can pull that up while you're in class. So for now, I'm just going to go ahead and start with a blank one. I'm going to use this and call it test chorus for now. And you can see that as it pulls up, it looks very much like Canvas. In the bottom left corner, you have a few different things that are new. You have a notifications tab, which will pop up as you use it. You will have a student list. You can pull in students here. This is supposed to be like an interactive whiteboard. And then this does work in conjunction with Google Meet. Now, if you remember using Google Jamboard during the pandemic with Google Meet, it's very similar like that, where your students can come in and very much interact with the whiteboard function. Other than that, you do have similar things from Canvas that you might remember: the infinite whiteboard, the pen, erase. You can embed a web page, add media, add lessons or polls that we'll go over here in a little bit, and then add a page, page switcher, things like that. Our hamburger over here is where you're going to be able to save, open, center, download, and then, of course, go back to the course homepage. All of the functions that you are going to use are always going to come back here. Anytime you open, edit, add, they're always going to be saved no matter what. Now, I'm going to skip lesson activities for now, and I'm going to go over here to community on the left-hand side. Now, the great thing about Snowflake is that you don't have to pay for anything. This is an open-ended content database made by teachers for teachers. With this, you can search anything. It's not limited to a certain age group, content area, activity type, none of that. So you can search different activities or by standards. These can be by state standards or Common Core standards. So for right now, I'm just going to search vowels. By searching this, I come up with a multitude of different things that are going to appear, which is great. It does show me that I get 145 results. I can narrow down the material that I'm finding. I can search by age group up here, activity types. And if you remember from looking at the panel, it does go with the foundational games that it has, and then you can build around it. Remember, just because you choose a foundational game does not mean that you're stuck with it. You can change that. Subject area. I love that they give you a multitude of different things that don't just fall under the common discipline areas. It's not just going to be limited to math, science, social studies, ELA. They have all sorts of stuff: guidance and counseling, digital citizenship, language like Spanish, uh, PE. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff. Music. I love it. Wide variety. Countries. This is not just a US used software. So there's all sorts of stuff. You'll see that there's a lot of different languages as we go through here. So you might have to filter out those languages. And then community. This is made by teachers for teachers, but NuiTech themselves also has a group of teachers that creates content as well. You can search this by their group as well, and then it'll also show you that it's made by them. It'll say NuiTech content, and it'll have this little area too, or you'll also see it by, it's like a verified check mark that you might see on social media. That's also how you'll know that it's by a Snowflake content creator as well. So based on what I have searched, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to look at this one right here. It looks just kind of fun. So here's my activity, and I can do a few different things just by looking at it. I can hit this little heart sign and I can like it. I can go ahead and see how many downloads or plays that it has. I can see what language, I can see who's made it. And again, I can see that by this little sign right here. I can go ahead and play it this way as well. I can edit the lesson activity, or I can see more options. So I can see some of the info. I can go ahead and directly send it to students. I can download it, or I can report it for the NuiTech engineers to look at and evaluate and see if it's appropriate or not appropriate. All right, so right now, I just want to look at the lesson activity info. Now, anytime that it's made by a NuiTech Snowflake content creator, they're always going to add in as much information as they possibly can, which is great. They're going to tell me what kind of activity it is, the age group. They're going to give me lots and lots of stuff. They're going to give me all sorts of links. I can share it to social media. I have an opportunity to add comments, what standards are going to be aligned with this. I'm also going to have some extra worksheets that can go with this as well. So even though this is all digital activities, NuiTech really adds in different things that can be on paper as well. So, given that differentiation to enhance student learning as much as possible. When you download, this is going to give you that opportunity to get those paper links as well. So I love this activity, but I want to make some changes to it. So by doing that, I am going to hit that cog or the gear to do it. I'm going to hit that. I'm going to give it some time to load. And this is the screen that will pop up when I want to make some changes. Now in Snowflake, you're going to see two different sides. On one side, you're going to be able to actually make the physical changes to the game, and you can see there's going to be some color changes. I can do some different sizes, all sorts of stuff. And on the right-hand side, this is what it's actually going to look like as I pull it up on my board or the students play the game on their devices. This is great because as a teacher, we don't have time to stay after school for hours on end and create this material. We also want to know that it can be trusted that when we walk into our classrooms and we do this activity with our students, that it's trusted to perform the way that we think that it's going to be. So Snowflake gives us the opportunity to do both of those things at the same time. So you can be at home with your family or friends, sitting by the fire, um, sitting in the chair with your hairstylist and working on these things, and know and trust that it's going to perform the way that you think it is when you get to the classroom the next day. So that's a great way for it to be. So you can go in and you can make any change that you want to do. I can do the shapes, I can do all sorts of stuff. So I'm going to make one little change here, and that's all I'm going to do. Over here on the left-hand side, I'm going to hit that hamburger. And here's where you can change that lesson activity type if you want to. Like I said, this is in one format. You don't have to do it that way. You can obviously change it. Say I want to do the Math Bugs game. You're not limited. But I want to go into my activities. So I'm going to click right here into my lesson activities. Now remember, this is a NuiTech lesson. But now it's in my lesson activities. This is now under my category. So it's almost as if I've taken something that NuiTech has created, or even another teacher. It doesn't have to just be NuiTech. And now it's listed as my content. So I can make any changes. It doesn't affect anything that NuiTech or another teacher has done, and now it's going to be my own. So no matter what I do, it's all going to be right there. This is a great opportunity for you to differentiate for your classroom and your students individually. You can even edit your own activity. So you can have two different versions. Maybe you have a small group of students that really need some more focalized and individual kind of instruction. You can make edits to your own activity, and then you can have two different versions of the same activity and assign them at the same time to those students. So that is incorporating that right there, all within the same panel. So all of your lessons can be right here. You can go in and it's allowing you that opportunity. So that is under the community subheading. Under create, you have the option to create a lesson activity from scratch. Here's where you can click on those foundational activities. These are the same ones that are going to be on the Snowflake application on your panel. You can also do as an assessment as well. Remember those switch and your limitability. You can also do a poll. This is going to be a little different from before. There's going to be a separate video on how to incorporate polls in your classroom and how they can benefit your instruction. So be on the lookout for that as well. Similar structure to the same way that you would edit and change the different lesson activities. Under My Lesson Activities, this is where you're going to find those lesson activities, polls. List is going to be a great way for you to organize your content. If you are a teacher that has multiple different classes, say that you teach math in the morning, reading in the afternoon, that might be true for a middle school or high school teacher, or even your elementary school teachers. You have to teach 4 different or even 5 different classes in one day. This is an opportunity for you to really organize all of that without having to search it every single day. So this is a great opportunity. You can share lesson activities between teachers. Very easy to do that. It's just like sharing a document or anything like that on Google Class or Google Docs or Google Sheets, anything like that. This is light. This goes back to that little heart on the lesson activities, and then groups. You and your subject area teachers or grade level area teachers can share different activities within a group, and all of you will have access to that within that group. So instead of just sharing between one teacher, you can share it between a whole group of you. So Snowflake gives you a multitude of availability to be creative, but also have options for the students that will enhance their learning and make it a lot more fun and user friendly. If you have questions, feel free to reach out. I'd be more than happy to work with you on making learning fun.